Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. No, I am not your regular host, Ben Begley, for Guilty Movie Pleasures. Today's going to be a little bit different, but we're going to talk heavyweights, guilty movie pleasure of mine, so stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Begley is still on the holiday vacation, so to speak. So instead, if you guys are Popcorn Talk fanatics, then you might know me and Marisa Serafini from Anatomy of a Movie. We've decided to experiment and dabble in guilty movie pleasures because those guys always have so much fun.
They do.
That's right. So it's not going to be your regular show, but nonetheless, we're going to try to give you something. And our sponsor today is Blue Apron, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So we thought it'd be appropriate to do a movie all concerned with weight called Heavyweights.
Yes. I'm excited for this film because Phil and I, we watched this movie more than you would realize on a regular basis. And this is a movie that we always have fun and we always quote and take life lessons out. And yeah, our Anatomy of a Movie show, we tend to, delve really deep and get into the ethics of everything in the writing. But every once in a while, both of us were film majors. We do love films, and we love films that make us feel good. And this is just a ridiculous movie that's just so fun. It can be a guilty movie.
I think it's just a movie pleasure. So I think it's a little bit off-putting that it's a guilty movie pleasure, because for me it's a movie pleasure.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's always something that just ends up hitting of why you sort of revisit it. And a couple of months ago for me, there was someone I knew who was feeling bad, and I just went into the, how you doing, little Tony? Bad. Why do you feel bad? Because everything's going wrong, but it's not your fault. It's their fault. That's right. It's not your fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. You have failed, and you will pay. And it's just, and this person was highly confused. But anyway, I guess again our format's going to be a little bit different, so bear with us. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it nonetheless. But let's just start with your favorite elements of the story. We'll keep it simple.
I think what I think this movie does so great is that they got so many likable, relatable guys all together in the same room in the same movie, and like how they all play off with each other. It seems like a really fun camp, despite the reason why they're actually there. Like, everyone's friends, everyone generally likes each other, and it's just a fun environment. And I think that's why we love this movie so much, because there are just so many fun moments with fun characters and things that happen, fun lines in between. It's fun. That's all really the word that I can describe everything. It's all fun.
Yeah, and this is Ben Stiller's first big movie. I mean, he was in one or two, but this was what made him into the Ben Stiller we know. And as fun as he is in a main role, he's great as a villain.
He is.
Same thing, Dodgeball. He sort of plays a different version of a health obsessed, trainer in that regard. But it's really fun to see him, act against all these kids and really be the villain for no other reason than he's just, didn't have a childhood himself, is what the movie deduces it down to. And you know what? Part of it is, too, I guess, this love of camp. Fat camp, science camp, whatever type of camp. What kid didn't want to go to camp?
Yeah. I mean, everyone has. That's the fun thing of just summer camps. It's somewhere else to go, something to look forward to. You see your friends, and they definitely, you can tell the regular camp goers in this movie compared to the new guys, and it's a good getaway, and the craziness that ensues was just enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. And let's also, preface it in the time. This was right, I don't know if you can call it the peak, because I just don't perhaps follow these movies that much anymore. Mm-hmm. But the 90s, in terms of Walt Disney and all these other things, you had the Mighty Ducks, which a lot of these actors were a part of. You had a lot of great sort of, I can't necessarily call them coming-of-age movies. But there was that, I forget off the top of my head, the Christopher Lloyd camp one as well. Home Alone was sort of in this. So a lot of great, Little Rascals,
yes.
Another guilty movie pleasure of ours. So there's a lot of fun kid movies that I don't think we see as much of anymore. Again, it could be that I'm not completely paying attention whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's what the 90s does so great, sentimentality. And then they hit the family aspect, the friend aspect, and we definitely, or the team building kind of aspect, which I feel this movie definitely covers, because everyone in this movie, like all those kids, there's so many outsiders that like always kind of like shameful, you know, body shaming, and you guys suck at doing this. It's like we're always gonna beat you because you guys are just Joe Schmoes. And I liked how they band together. It's like, yeah, we know we're not the greatest, but we like ourselves, we have fun. And I like how they did band together to prove people wrong.
I just joke because did they in the they won of course the race, the Apache Derby. However, Jeffrey Tambor's character, who plays the father of our sort of main protagonist, certainly Jerry, you know, he's like, he looks fatter. Does he look fatter to you? And the wife was like, oh, honey. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so speaking of Jerry, he's overall our protagonist into this. We're introduced, it's the last day of school, and boom, he gets out. We're taking on this adventure with him, and his parents want to send him to fat camp.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, and that's that's a bad way to start a supposedly fun summer. It's like freedom, you know, and the first thing you hear is like, oh, I got to go to a fat camp. Yeah, anyone would want to say no to that. Hell no to that, really. But I think it was a good setup. It's a simple movie. You don't need like a lot of, I don't want to say intelligence, but this is a movie. This is a popcorn movie.
No.
This is a movie to enjoy. And it doesn't take a lot of intelligence to follow this movie. So, easy premise.
Absolutely. And, you know, right off the bat, then we're introduced to all the various characters in a funny way.
Mm-hmm. The personalities, for sure.
Yes. You know, it's one of those, you talk about it in script writing a lot, like if you know, just by the dialogue alone, you're supposed to know the person's name or the character, right? And each of these characters, even though they split screen time so much, has a very distinct personality. And you know right off the bat, you know, we have a British kid, we have, you know, Captain, we
have the clown, the class clown.
Exactly. We have Pat, who's a wannabe kid, but still wants to be an adult because in order to be with the hot nurse, he has to act like somewhat of an adult, and yet he's just like he's sometimes worse than the kids of like, you don't know where the infirmary is.
Yeah, and
panicked.
like I did enjoy him because he was like, despite he lost the weight, he's still a fat kid inside. So like he can relate to everyone else there. Fun to see, because yes, we're surrounded by all these kids who are going through this, but to also get the adult perspective of what they're going through, I enjoyed.
Yes, and then you know, just even in, you know, so obviously the way it's set up, there's a pre-establishment. You think you're going, you know, I mean, think about it this way from Jerry's perspective. Okay, he goes to fat camp, something he doesn't want to do. Then he's finally opening up to the idea of fat camp because it could be fun. We're getting jet skis, and then it completely shifts gears, unbeknownst to anybody, let alone, you know, Jerry. But, you know, we get Kenny the cameraman. We get Lars. So we still get characters, you know, that we're constantly introduced to that we fall in love with.
Or they just have their good moments or good lines that were as despicable of characters that we're supposed to hate. We still love them. We love to hate them.
That's right.
Even Tony. I mean, Tony Perkins. You're supposed to hate him, but he's fun to watch.
He is. I'm not gonna give you the light. I'm gonna show you the light. Yeah, just you know, he just really believes in what he says, but it's one of those things that it's just completely the wrong way. You know, his tactics.
I think yes, and that's what his character was interesting to watch, because I think deep down inside he had good intentions. It's the execution of it that completely failed and blew up in his face.
I think it's that, and it's also, there were those moments, like, because I think deep down, ultimately, the fact that he was doing it as an infomercial, and this was going to be, America's #1 infomercial at a time when infomercials were the thing.
We're booming.
That's what sort of gave him away eventually, because you could see, okay, like, he is trying, but no, the fact, like, his greater intention is to just make a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can sell the idea, but in the end, does it actually work? Maybe not. And that's what his character was. His story was like he had this idea of, it looks great on paper, but when it actually plays out, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that the opposite of not working out, Blue Apron, right? So it's a brand new year, and hopefully most of you guys are still holding on to the resolution of perhaps you want to lose weight, or at the very least you want to eat healthy, right? Even if you don't want to lose weight, we should all eat a little bit more healthy. And Blue Apron is great for that because it's a delivery service in the country, and they deliver ingredients to you that are fresh, right to your home. So therefore, it's easy, and it's food that you can make at your home that's delivered to your home. So very accessible. Right? You've heard of Blue Apron, Marisa.
Of course I have. Of course, and like we're great fans of Blue Apron because you and I personally, we work a lot. We don't have a lot of time, and a lot of times we don't eat the healthiest food, admittedly, too. So Blue Apron in our lives gives us the opportunity to create beautiful looking food that actually tastes well and is affordable. Right to our doors. What?
So average price of a meal is about $10. They have partnerships with over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranches, and therefore you're getting, you're getting right off the bat, you're getting fresh food. But more so than that, right? There's also, you get the ingredients you need because, number one, part of what I hate and what just seems like a waste of time is you and I will go grocery shopping and boom, we'll get all these ingredients, and then we don't end up using all of the ingredients because what we want to make only requires 1 of 10, right? Mm-hmm. And so then the other 9 go to waste.
Yeah. And
you feel bad because not only have you wasted money, you've wasted the food. Also, furthermore, I don't even have time. I don't want to think necessarily about the stuff that I'm going to make, but, what this does, it's almost like a great surprise. You tell through Blue Apron, you pick your preferences. Do you want, do you like vegetarian stuff? Do you like beef? Do you like pork? Do you like chicken? Whatever. You pick your preferences. And therefore, they sort of do the thinking for you. It gets delivered, and it's like, ooh, what is this great food surprise? Speaking of which, some great meals that are being featured. Spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage. Pork chops and garlic with scallions, rice, and spinach. Mushroom and chipotle pepper enchiladas with lime sour cream.
These sound amazing. All of them.
Honestly, I didn't eat beforehand, so now I'm just
hungry. Blue Apron.
That's right. So as we mentioned, it's affordable. There's variety. It's flexible. It's easy, and the freshness is guaranteed. And just for you guys, go to blueapron.com/guilty, and you get 3 meals for free. So that's 3 meals for free if you go to blueapron.com/guilty. So let us know. And by the way, tweet us what you thought of it. It's a great way to spend also time with family and friends. Because cooking's a kind of a thing. Or if you're a guy, I'll give you a trick. You wanna impress the lady by cooking. This is a great, easy way to make a meal without ever knowing how to cook.
Exactly, and the great thing about Blue Apron is that they also give you instructions on how to make this gorgeous prepared meal that you see on, like, hey, this meal looked good, so your personalized preferences. It gives you directions on how to create.
For dummies.
I can't cook with a darn. Nah, you wouldn't find me dead in a kitchen, but if I had Blue Apron, yeah, I'd be cooking everything.
Yeah. And you know what? Imagine if Blue Apron was around for our kids. For
our guys?
For our heavyweights.
Yeah, I can imagine all those kids cooking Blue Apron. That'd be great.
So absolutely. So we thought, as we mentioned earlier, we thought it tied in quite nice in terms of our guilty movie pleasure. I guess in that regard, might as well, we talked characters, but just to hit it on the nose, who was your favorite character by far?
Favorite character? I love, as terrible as this will sound, I love Tony Perkis because he's so over the top, such a terrible fitness instructor. The way he treated these kids was so appalling. It was entertaining. Which sounds terrible, but it's just he was too ridiculous of a character. You can just laugh at, and that's what I enjoy because I hate to think there are people that are like this out there, but it was never a dull moment with Tony Perkis, and there were moments where he was pushed and his patience was tried with. Again, he's dealing with teenagers, so that's already a terrible position to be in. But he had his one-line zingers, and when the way he tortured them was like, you know what? As a forgive me if I don't have the exact quote, but like tomorrow we're gonna go on a hike, a 25-mile hike.
Pack your bags, boys.
Pack your boys, and all that. So like everything that he put these kids through was terrible, but it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch him torture these kids because every once in a while these kids did need a little slapping around, but he was just an interesting character through and through.
Yeah, I mean, the most heartfelt character to me was Pat Finley because of his relationship with Jerry, but in terms of the comedic characters, it's a toss-up between Josh Bernbaugh and Roy.
Okay.
Just because Roy
is fun.
I mean, if nothing else, Roy has that great line, and of course he's playing into it, but is it true you can do a sit-up if you can't see your hair? and just Tony, it's at that point that he feels like he's finally turning them, and he's like, yes, Roy, it is possible. I'm going to rock your world.
Yes. It's a lot of different fun moments and fun characters. I think, I had favorite characters, but again, favorite moments. And I think you and I, this is definitely a favorite moment of ours that we quote all the time that you guys don't know. Body system.
Body system. Buddy. Yes. Good old Lars. Lars has a lot of great moments, for sure.
Good lines too. Far, far away.
One of my favorite moments is, of course, the dance because of just how everything's set up, and they point to Lars. In fact, of get a look at Lars, and he's just there dancing. And what I like about Lars is that he's that 50-50 character. He means well by Tony, but he also, especially by the end, for sure, gets sucked into the fun. And he just can't help himself.
Yeah, and like he didn't. They set him up to be, because he works for Tony. He's probably part of the terrible system as well as a terrible person, but he really wasn't. Yeah, they tortured him and locked him away sometimes, like on a tree. But in the end, like he didn't seem like a malicious guy. He was just doing his job.
Absolutely. And he's apparently he doesn't know the difference between deer and bears.
Yes.
Also, one of the things that makes this really fun, it has a great soundtrack. Very much
so 90s.
So 90s, but even like going back, like it has La Freak, like it's very old school. I think like even 70s music for the overall part. I Want Candy and all those things, You Sexy Thing. Like it's dated music.
It definitely is. It definitely speaks to this is the 90s. That's when these songs were popping, But overall, even if we're watching this movie going on 25 years later, it's still fun because it's music that aids to the situation, not aids to the time. It just aids whatever event that they're at.
No.
So.
Absolutely. Speaking of the times, so mixed review. It wasn't a box office success by any means. Yeah. In fact, it only ended up making $17.6 million. Now, again, that's also years ago, so you got to calculate inflation into that. Unfortunately, I don't have that figure. But It did get a cult following, especially because of Ben Stiller, right? When because it's a lesser known of his works, but I think it holds up just nicely if you're going down the Ben Stiller rabbit hole. Whether that's Zoolander and then this and everything else.
If you're
Dodgeball.
marathoning Ben Stiller, definitely. I think it built its cult following because Disney Channel did a rerun of this movie 1.5 million times. That's how I watched this film over and over again, because the Disney Channel back in the 90s and early 2000s, they would constantly play this. This was one of their favorite films. And that's how I know about this movie. So, yeah, maybe financially it wasn't the greatest, but people loved watching it.
Yeah. Well, and this is where critics and us disagree. It currently holds a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes based on, here's the good news, only 7 professional reviews.
So that's not too bad, actually.
So 7 people were compelled enough to write that they hated it overall. But according to Steve Holden of the New York Times, Heavyweights is really 2 movies in one, and they don't mesh. One is a no-holds-barred spoof of a Tony Little or Susan Powter style fitness merchant. The other movie is a conventional family comedy that pokes lighthearted fun at the chubby young campers. Sure. Not really. I mean, the two are heavily intertwined.
Yeah.
And yes, it goes into just absolute weirdness. Again, just what Tony becomes towards the end with him in a cage and then him just completely mentally breaking. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't make it bad.
Yeah. I think maybe they were talking about, 80s and 90s fitness gurus out there. Any home fitness video, you always have the crazy ones trying to push you to your limits. I think Tony Perkis was kind of the caricature of that. And so I can see where they thought that. But I think it's just a fun movie of over-the-top characters all put together in a room, and they all obviously clash, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Tony's hair, the whole Tony character himself is just fantastic.
He's brilliant, yeah, and I think he's done well from Ben Stiller. Of course, Ben Stiller back then, I mean, he's been in a crap ton of movies since, but back then he was fresh off of his television show. That's how Paul Feig got involved and Judd Apatow got involved. But I think if you're looking for Oscar nominations, you're not going to get it with this film.
No.
Even for acting, it's really just a story that plays out.
No. And, even shortly thereafter, Ben Stiller would become, remember the, in Happy Gilmore, right, when he's playing the nurse, mm-hmm. the elderly nurse that takes care of all the people.
Yeah. And
he plays a, for lack of a better term, a dick in that too, and he's fantastic in it. Oh, your back, your fingers hurt. Oh, well, your back's gonna now hurt because you're on garden duty.
Yes.
So he's just he's got such a great plethora of movies and roles, and
we also know he can do drama and as well. So it's his acting is definitely he's not just a character actor. He's an actor, and that's what I applaud him for. That he can do fun movies like this and not taint his acting career.
Absolutely. All right. Overall, I think that's about it.
What's your favorite scene of this film? We quote a lot of things, but what's the scene that if you could, not to say that you should, but fast forward to any part in this film, what scene would it be or what moment?
To be honest, it depends on the mood, right? Because I do feel there's all the given scenes. It depends on sort of what position you are in life. If you're having girl trouble, just the way the angelic girl walks down and everyone just gulps because they're so nervous, you can have that moment. But I guess the most generic one that, yes, it ties into sort of team sports and whatever, was when they're getting their butt handed to them in baseball, and the nurse, she asks them, the nurses, Nurse Julie asked them, Cody, what on earth is going on out there? We're perkisizing.
Perkisizing.
So you'll hear me say a lot. We're perkisizing.
I loved, as terrible as this will sound, it's always ridiculous, and it's hard to watch now, but it was fun back then, when they're all binging. They're having their crazy night. It's like all the staff are locked up or tied away in trees. Like, they don't have staff dictating them right now. And so they have complete freedom where they go food crazy binging and have that ridiculous party overnight. It's sickening to watch it, like everything they're ingesting, but it's kind of ridiculously awesome.
Two great things come out of that. One, Pat being like, I should get down there.
Yes.
And Nurse Julie's big, no, stay with me. Secondly, good morning, kids. What have we learned? Don't put Twinkies on your pizza.
Yes.
Good rule.
Good rule. Good lesson in life, and it still applies today.
So there you have it. A lot of these kids, Josh Bernbaugh,
Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, him, Jerry, and Roy. They were all three involved in D3 The Mighty Ducks. In fact, this is one of those things I hate to hear, but apparently Sean, who plays Josh Bernbaugh, he wouldn't have been able to do D3 The Mighty Ducks unless he did heavyweights.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's supposedly a story.
Huh. I did not know that.
So I think they have, by the way, they have a fun poster. It's heavyweights. It's four chubby kids holding the biggest sandwich you'll ever see. All right. So I guess that about does it, right?
Yes. We love this film.
We do. So once again, our sponsor of today is Blue Apron. By the way, this was written by Judd Apatow.
Yes. Back then.
Should be noted. So if you love Judd Apatow, this is Judd Apatow movie.
And he's done great movies since as well, so he started early.
So blueapron.com/guilty. Thank you guys for watching. Ben Begley and the team will be back. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as well. But by no means do we mean to replace Ben or anything of that nature.
We wanted to do a guilty movie as well.
That's right. It seemed too much fun not to.
Yeah.
All right. At Serafini TV.
That's right.
At the Popcorn Talk. You can check me and Marissa out every week on Anatomy of a Movie here on Popcorn Talk Network, as well as all the other shows. And, of course, keep tuning in to Guilty Movie Pleasures. We'll see you guys, we'll see you on Anatomy of a Movie.
Yep.
Ben will see you on Guilty Movie Pleasures. Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.